Hey guys, welcome to Windows 3.1. This is the first operating system that we're going to start to see a somewhat more modern UI, where the UI is going to look a lot more Windows-esque. We're going to see icons that, while they have changed somewhat, for the most part, they're pretty much the same. Like, for instance, the control panel icon really does look pretty much the same today than it did then. The print manager icon looks about the same as it did then. Now, these icons at this point, you figure, are probably well over 25 years old, but most people don't realize that they date back this far, but they do. This is where we're going to start to see menus that actually have icons that look a lot more interactive. This is the first time we're going to have the ability to really run the operating system as Windows, whereas in 2 and 1, it was really more DOS based and it was an annoyance to run Windows. At this point, Windows has become more integrated and there's more available in the Windows operating system, more options, more configurations. It's more usable. It's also more user-friendly. This particular machine is actually a 3.11 for work group. So that means that it was capable of being on the network. It was capable of seeing network shares and things of that nature. Now, this machine didn't ship with Internet Explorer, though it was an option to install Internet Explorer on 3.11. So this is really the beginning. This is where we had dial-up connections. There really was no internet like it is today. It was very rudimentary. The dial-up connections in 3.11, at least at the beginning, were probably 33.6 connection speed, kilobytes per second or kilobits per second. They eventually got to 56K. 3.11 was the operating system that transitioned to Windows 95 on the desktop side, on the user side. Now, during this time period where 3.11 exists was the introduction of NT3. And NT3 was your business operating system for your work side. So people who worked in an office that had access to, say, WordPerfect or Lotus Notes or some other application, even Windows, Microsoft Word, things of that nature, those people used an NT-based operating system in business. 3.11, like this, was part of a separate business configuration from Microsoft. So Microsoft actually had a split. They used to create business machines and they would create home user machines. This is a home user machine. This is something that when you got home from school and you wanted to check out something or you wanted to play a game, this is the system that you would actually use to do it. If your parents were working at the time and they had access to a computer, because computers weren't in every office yet. But if they had access to a computer, chances are they were using NT3 for work groups, and likely NT3 workstation for work groups. The servers existed too as NT3 server, and eventually NT4 server and NT4 work groups. And then Windows 2000 was the work group business machine, whereas Windows ME, and there was 3.1, there was Windows 95, Windows 98, 98 SE, and ME were home operating systems, where NT3, NT4, 2000, and eventually 2003 were business-based machines. When XP came out, XP was the transition of Microsoft providing two separate systems to a single system. So XP bridged the gap between the NT operating system and the home user operating system, which killed off the home user side. So basically, ME was the last home-based product Microsoft made and developed specifically for home use. After that, they added names like Microsoft Windows Media Center or Media Edition or Microsoft Windows Professional or Microsoft Windows Home, but they are all the same product with just different variables or different installed functions or features. Whereas when this operating system came out, there was a split. You had your NT operating systems, which were your business operating systems, and your 3. Operating system in this case was your home users. So your home users are your kids or yourself as a somebody that wanted a computer at home would have this operating system. So that's why you'll see things like games installed and you'll see things like accessories installed. It was designed to allow you to create, a word processor, access to the internet, no matter how rudimentary that was, likely to run the first versions of Microsoft Encarta for an encyclopedia. Most of the machines that this would have been shipped on were 33 megahertz. Some of them had the turbo function. These are the machines you would see like Packard Bell, not Hewlett Packard, but Packard Bell. When Compaq and HP were split companies, that's when this stuff was out and running. This is a great operating system. It's not great by today's standards. It's not going to run modern stuff. There's no way it's going to get onto the internet. Nobody really supports it anymore. You're not going to be able to find anything that runs on it from a standpoint. But this is one of the first operating systems that Microsoft developed extremely well. It was super stable. It worked extremely well. It didn't require that much to run it. Lockups, blue screen of deaths, they didn't really come into the light yet as issues, because if the operating system on this crashed, you would just get kicked back to MS-DOS. And you could always start it back up again by hitting the Alt-Enter key or Alt-Tab to open your Windows operating system again. So there were sticky keys or function keys to actually get back into the GUI. Now keep in mind that I would love to show you that function, but if I do that, it'll be the end of our presentation of Windows, because while this is running on a virtual system, I don't have the ability to hit Alt-Tab because it'll just change the focus on one of the other monitors that I have connected here. Obviously a limitation of running this stuff virtual, but I don't have the hardware to support this any longer. So at any rate, let's just do that now then. We will jump back to the actual DOS prompt. So once we go back to DOS, we could see if we could get in. Chances are we won't be able to. Oh, we can. All right. So doing it that way does work. If the operating system, however, crashes, or if you decide that you want to kick back, so for instance, up here we have the MS-DOS prompt. If we go in here, almost guaranteed I won't be able to kick back. So, yep, so there we are. At this point, we're stuck in the DOS prompt. We won't be able to get back because I don't have a way to hit Alt-Tab on the virtual machine, as crazy as that sounds. But this is really more of, again, the functions that we will soon see in the later versions of the Windows operating system. That MS-DOS prompt that we just opened up is DOS on top of the GUI that's running on top of MS-DOS. So it's really like a taco inside of a taco inside of a Taco Bell, which is crazy. But this really did work. There were no limitations with this. There were no issues with this. This was a functional operating system. It was a strongly designed, developed machine. It was done well. It was done by people who knew what they were doing, or people who learned during the process. The fixes, the patches, the updates that took place for this operating system were very slim. They were small because there wasn't really much bandwidth to actually apply the updates, but this is a very stable, well-developed, well-designed system. There wasn't too much as far as patches were concerned, because there really weren't too many limitations of the operating system from a security standpoint. Now today we have Windows 11, Windows 10, even Windows 7, 8, 8.1. All those systems have this dormant code sitting in them, and at this point, people have studied it for 30 years, and they've figured out ways into those operating systems, which is why we have so many updates for those systems, why those operating systems are so enormous. This doesn't have those issues. So running it 2024 as a toy, as something to check out, definitely give it a shot. I'll throw the link in there. It runs pretty well on modern hardware with VMware Player or VMware Workstation, your choice, dealer's choice. But obviously, for obvious reasons, it's not going to get to the internet. It's not going to do modern browsing. But if you're going to use it for like word processing and printing, it's also not going to crash. It's pretty stable. So hopefully you guys like this video. If you want to check out more, check out the library of videos I have on here for legacy systems. Like and subscribe. It helps me out. And thanks for the interest, and thanks for nerding out with me. You guys take it easy.